Hey creeps, it's Cameron again, and welcome back to Library Macabre, where I talk about books, movies, writing, and all things spooky. And today I have a November book haul. Before I show you the books that I got in November, I did forget to show you a magazine last month that I got in October. This is the latest issue of Fangoria. So I am still subscribed to Fangoria. I was a little bit nervous that they were going to be canceled because of some issues that were happening with, I believe, the distributor of Fangoria, but they separated from the distributor and they are now with either another company or they're just plain old solo. But yeah, there's my new issue of Fangoria, just as beautiful as ever. So I've not really been accepting books for review unless the book is under 200 pages. If it's short, then I can read it faster. So anything over that, I'm trying to stay away from accepting because I have so much to read. Literally over 100 books. So I'm trying to steer clear of it, even though it's really hard for me to turn books down, because every time that I have turned a book down, some authors have been either angry with me or they've just been kind of sad that their book wasn't going to be shown on my channel, which I get, and it hurts me to say no, because a lot of the authors that reach out to me are indie authors and they really need the support, but at the same time I don't want to accept a book that I'm not going to be able to read and review for a year or two. So I'm trying to just be honest and upfront, and if authors understand, that's great. If they don't, you know, I'm really trying. But if your book is under 200 pages, I'm more likely to accept it. So here we have Hunger Pangs, stories by Scott J. Moses, and I was really excited to hear about this because this is a short story collection of melancholic horror stories, which is what I do. It's one of my favorite things to read, and that's usually what I write. I also have the latest book from William Holloway. This is called Blackwood Estates. I have another one of his books, actually 3 of his books, in my review pile already. One is called Lucky's Girl, and then I have 2 books in his series. I forget what the series is called. I'm reading it on my shelf right now. But the first book is called The Immortal Body. So now I have another one of his books to add to my queue. This one is super short though. It's just a little over 100 pages, so it should be really easy to get through. And last month I hauled a book from the Frightville series by Mike Ford, and Mike was really kind. He reached out to me and offered to send me books 1 through 3 in the Frightville series. So we have Don't Let the Doll In, Curse of the Wish Eater, and The Haunted Key. So these are books 1 through 3. You know, it's one of those Goosebumps tributes, so I'm really excited to read these. They look very cute. Next I have Exiters. This is by M. Seamus Reed. It says this is part 1 in the series. This is like a new special edition. It says, the city of Brackenshaw, USA descends into chaos after an ancient curse is inadvertently unleashed. Now a band of misfits must fight to survive the nightmare. Meanwhile, a gifted detective is dispatched by an enigmatic agency that specializes in the paranormal. Warning, contains graphic horror, violence, and gore. And the last book that I received for review is gorgeous. This is a limited hardcover edition of Devil's Night by Curtis M. Lawson. Let's take a look at this book close up because it's worth it. Awesome cover art that wraps all the way around the dust jacket. And we also have beautiful end papers, and the book itself, super nice, kind of a cloth binding. We also have many beautiful illustrations scattered throughout. And this is kind of a short story collection of sorts, but this has stories that all blend together. It says, Devil's Night burns with Curtis M. Lawson's signature brand of supernatural dread. This is smart psychological horror ablaze with visceral imagery with equal measures of heart and heartache, which is what I'm all about. And this takes place on Devil's Night. It says it is a unique collection of interconnected urban horror stories taking you back to October 30th, 1987. So thank you so much to all of these lovely authors and publishers who sent these along to me. I really appreciate it, and these will go in my review pile. Next, I went to Amazon and I bought a bunch of brand new books. I don't usually buy new books. I tend to buy most of my books secondhand, but last month was awful and I needed to give myself a little bit of retail therapy. It's not something I do often, but last month I needed it. So I bought some books. First off, we have Ex Libris, 100 plus books to read and reread. And this is a gorgeous little volume, as you can see. Super, super nice. I saw this on somebody's Instagram and I knew that I had to have a copy for myself. I love books about books, and I've been reading a lot of books about books lately just because they're cozy and they make me feel good. And I've not read this one yet, but it's definitely on my list. So there is Ex Libris. Next, we have a charity anthology. This is called It Came from the Darkness, and all the proceeds for this little book goes to the Max the Brave charity. Max was the nephew of author Lou Yardley, who's a really good friend of mine, and when I saw that this book had come out, I knew I had to order it. For one, because it's a really, really cool little anthology with artwork and flash fiction and poetry, but also it supports Lou's nephew, who sadly passed away. So I was honored to pick up a copy of this. It's very inexpensive on Amazon. I highly recommend that you purchase a copy for yourself. I will leave a link down below in the graveyard so you can go and check it out. Next, we have Black River Lantern. This is by Alex Grass. Alex Grass actually reached out to me and offered to send me a copy of this for a review, and it's a thick one, and I knew that I would not be getting to this anytime soon. It would take me a long time because I have so much to read, so I had to decline. But the book looked awesome, and it's about a carnival, and I love carnival horror, so I knew I had to have it, and I went ahead and just ordered a copy for myself just to support Alex. It was very cheap on Amazon. I think it was only $7 or $8, which is totally worth it. I picked up a copy of Caddy Wampus. This is by Robert Ford and John Bowden, two of my favorite authors. This was just one that I decided to pick out at random, and I believe this is actually a companion to another one of their books, if I'm remembering properly. I didn't really remember that until I ordered the book, so I'm gonna have to get the other one. I also picked up the latest book from Keelan Patrick Burke. This is called The House on Abigail Lane. I've been hearing a lot of really good things about this one. Again, it's very, very short, so I can read this soon. I also picked up the first book in the Jason Crane series by Richard Cleaves. This is called Sleepy Hollow, Rise, Headless, and Ride, which is, of course, a new take, a modern take on Legend of Sleepy Hollow, in which Jason Crane is like the great nephew or something of Ichabod Crane. That just sounds like a lot of fun. I love the Headless Horseman, so had to get that. And next is a book that I've already read and will definitely be on my list of favorite books of 2020, and that is I Will Judge You by Your Bookshelf. This is by Grant Snyder, and this is a really cool comic dedicated to book lovers. So if you love books, you will love this one. It's very, very funny, very cute, super cozy, and it just reminded me why I love books so much. And I do. I love books. They're the best. Alright, next we have a big old stack of books that I purchased from my friend David Dodd. He is a horror book collector, and he comes across duplicates a lot. So he tends to let me know whenever he has duplicates, and he'll sell them to me for a good price. I have a copy of Dead Season by J. Bradley Owen. This is published by Leisure in 1988. Love that cover. I've been looking for a copy of this for a while. It's very well read, but that's okay. I'll find a newer copy of this eventually. This will just make for a really good reading copy. We also have a reading copy of Apparitions by Noelle Scanlon. I have a really nice one of this, so I'm glad that I can read it and not be paranoid that I'm going to mess up my nice copy. I always like having a reading copy, and then whenever I finish reading these reading copies, I'll pass them on to somebody else. He also sent me a copy of Mother's Helper by A. Bates, one of the Point Horror books. We also have Ghostly by Gaslight, edited by Sam Moskowitz and Alden H. Norton, the greatest supernatural stories ever written. Curse of the Undead, classic tales of vampires and their victims by M.L. Carter. Night of the Vampire by Raymond Giles. Here we have quite a few of the old Dark Shadows paperbacks. Dark Shadows is a show that I've watched quite a bit of. I was actually binging it, and then I think I got through the first season and then kind of got distracted, so I need to go back to it and actually watch more of the show before I read any of these. We have Barnabas Collins versus the Warlock, The Demon of Barnabas Collins, The Secret of Barnabas Collins, The Curse of Collinwood, and The Mystery of Collinwood. He also sent me 4 books in the 13 Bullets series by David Wellington. This is a series I've heard a whole lot about. Gets a lot of praise from people that I trust. So we have the first book, 13 Bullets, 99 Coffins, 23 Hours, and 32 Things. We also have this very well-loved book club edition of Dark Forces, new stories of suspense and supernatural horror. Of course, these are not new stories now by any means. I wouldn't normally buy one in this kind of condition, but it was cheap. He only charged me $1 for it or something, so went ahead and got that. We also have a beautiful signed copy of The Count, The Life and Films of Bela Dracula Lugosi. This is by Arthur Lenning. Very, very nice first edition hardcover. And lastly, we have Vampires at Midnight, edited by Peter Haining, an old hardcover edition. Also, I was a part of a BookTube Secret Santa. It included me, Marie McWilliams, Merce from Harpies in the Trees. Geez, there were quite a few. And I'm not going to say who my Secret Santa was just yet, because there is a video unboxing compilation of all of our videos going up on Marie McWilliams' channel, I believe. But the book that I got is the Premature Burial and Other Tales of Horror. This is just a anthology of a bunch of different horror authors. So you've got Edgar Allan Poe, Robert Louis Stevenson, just a whole bunch of authors. I love this cover. You've got this alien emerging from this melting alien head. It's just very weird and Lovecraftian. I really like that. And this is also a British edition. I don't have a lot of UK editions in my library, so I'm always happy to add another one. And I also received a book from a viewer of the channel. His name is Ed Brock. So thank you very much, Ed, for sending this along. This is Spook House by Don Whittington. And it is a middle grade horror book. Ed was really nice and sent me a message on Twitter asking me if I wanted his copy. And I was like, yes, please. I love that cover art. 90s middle grade horror and YA horror. It's my favorite thing to read. And yeah, I would like to collect the other books in this series. I believe this is the 3rd book. The first 2 are called Werewolf Tonight and Vampire Mom. I also took a little trip to Half Price Books last month, and I found some Babysitters Club. We have number 100 in the series, Christie's Worst Idea. Book number 87, Stacy and the Bad Girls. Number 85, Claudia Kishi, live from WSTO. Abby and the Mystery Baby. This is part of the Mystery series. It's number 28. And then we have number 41, Mary Ann versus Logan. And then I took to eBay and I decided I'm in a mystery mood. like Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, all of the books from my youth. I love those, and I still like to read them whenever I'm in a cozy mystery mood. But there are a couple of mystery series that came out during the time of Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys that are kind of a blind spot for me. One of those is the Judy Bolton series. This is book number 12. This is called The Midnight Visitor by Margaret Sutton. I've not read any of the Judy Bolton books yet, but I would really like to. I hear they're actually a lot better than Nancy Drew. I've been keeping an eye out for first editions, and they're really hard to come by, but this one was selling on eBay for pretty cheap. This is a first printing, and it is in beautiful, beautiful condition. The seller was somehow selling this for only like $30, which was very surprising, so I had to pick this up. It's a very, very pretty book, and this was published in 1939. And the seller was also selling this one for only $12.99. This is Beverly Gray's Adventure by Claire Blank. And this is also in pretty nice shape. It's not quite as good as the other one. There's a little bit of wear to the cover, but this is a first edition, first printing. Next, I went to the Dollar Book Swap in Dayton, Ohio, and this place is pretty cool. I've talked about them a couple of times here on the show. They have pretty much an entire warehouse just filled with books, and all of their books are only $1. Each book, no matter what it is, it's $1. So I always walk out of there with some really cool finds, sometimes some really weird stuff that I've never seen before in my life. You never know what you're going to find at this place. So the first one I have is the Little Paris Bookshop, which is one that I've been wanting to read for a while. This is a first edition hardcover. Can't believe I only found this for $1. It's in pretty nice shape. It's not too bad. Again, I love books about books, so I was really excited to find this. Found a few Hardy Boys books. We have the Hardy Boys number 180, Typhoon Island, number 162, The End of the Trail, number 128, Day of the Dinosaur, and number 86, which is called The Mystery of the Silver Star. And then I also got a Hardy Boys case file book. This is one of the book club edition hardcovers, and I also found a really nice Babysitter's Club book. This one is called Logan's Story, and it's a special edition reader's request. I didn't know what that meant exactly, but I've looked into it, and apparently you could put in requests for what kind of books you wanted to see, and everybody wanted to see a book about Logan. I don't know who Logan is, but I'll find out if I read this. I also found this beautiful book while I was there. This is called Wonder Show by Hannah Barnaby. Really pretty hardcover book, all about a magical carnival. And I also found a first edition hardcover of The Sea of Trolls by one of my favorite authors, Nancy Farmer. Ugh, and that is not all I got. Oh no, I found even more books at the Dollar Book Swap. Found a copy of Don't Look Behind You by Lois Duncan. Very nice copy. I'm trying to collect all of her books in these editions. Spooky Wisconsin, Tales of Hauntings, Strange Happenings, and Other Local Lore, retold by S.E. Schlosser. This is a huge series of books. I think there's like Spooky Ohio, Spooky Everything, and I'd like to have a nice collection of these. They're really cool, and they actually have very nice illustrations, these kind of woodcut style illustrations. Found the 10th and final book in the Demonida series by Darren Shan. This one's called Hell's Heroes. Really nice hardcover, and this guy's books have been popping up for me everywhere lately. I've had one of his books in every haul for the past couple of months, so I found copies of Scare Me and Bury Me, both by K.R. Alexander. Definitely gonna have to binge these books very soon. Found book number 9 in the Strange Matter series. This one is called Deadly Delivery. I read a couple of these when I was a kid. Chupacabra by Roland Smith. This is the sequel to Tentacles, which I don't have, but I'll keep an eye out for that. I love books about cryptids. We also have Frenzy. This one is by Robert Lettrig. I did not know about this. This is a middle grade animal attack book, and it is about a summer camp in which a bunch of rabid animals converge on the camp and start attacking the kids, and they have to fight back against the animals. And apparently this is really graphic and gory, a lot like Paul Zendel's book that I used to read back in the 90s. And this is published by Disney Hyperion, so it's very surprising that they put out such a gruesome book, but I'm very excited to read this. We have one of the Osborne Spine Chillers books. This one is called Mind Master. Never read any of these, but I will definitely keep an eye out for more. Behind the bookcase, this is a nice first edition hardcover by Mark Steensland, who is a really big author now in the indie horror circuit. I did not know that he wrote middle grade books, but he did, and this one looks really cool and creepy, kind of Coraline-ish. Next up is Dark Side, book number 2, Lifeblood. I have the first book in this series, and I've always been curious to read it because it's just a very pretty book. But getting this one, this is even cooler looking. I love the colors. Obviously, they're very Library Macabre-ish. And look at this. This is just too freaking cool. I love that. And the design goes all the way around this book. There's just all kinds of craziness in here. I also found this really weird book called When Dusk Comes Creeping by Layan Jones. Super creepy looking book. This is from the UK. This was published in 1985. Nice first edition hardcover. And the very last book that I have to show you is another one that I got at the Dollar Book Swap. It's called Night of Reunion, a novel by Michael Allegredo. And this is kind of a isolation story in which a killer is trying to get in the house. I love a good home invasion story, so this looked really cool. Very, very nice first edition hardcover edition. Alright, so that is all I have for you today for this November book haul, and you can join me at the end of December for my December book haul. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one. Later, creeps.